Hello there. Today I'd like to show you a little bit about the Linux command line inside of a terminal. More specifically, I'm going to be doing this on Ubuntu Linux. This is great for beginners to start to get to know how to issue commands and do things like that. And if you're used to doing everything in a GUI, in a graphical user interface, then you probably have no idea how much fun it is to actually work inside of a terminal. There are tons and tons of programs that you can gain access to once you start getting more comfortable with the terminal. When you look around at the open source world and all the wonderful tools that people make, you'll find out pretty quickly that a lot of programmers just write tools that only work with the command line. And maybe later, if someone else comes along and wants to add a graphical interface for it, then they do. But lots of times that doesn't actually ever happen. And so you sort of open up a whole new world for yourself when you learn to use the terminal. Anyway, and then you also look really cool, like a hacker. So I'm on a desktop engine called XFCE, or a desktop environment called XFCE. Most new Linux users who are on Ubuntu are probably looking at the GNOME desktop. So let me just say real fast, if you have a desktop that looks nothing like this, and you think you're on GNOME because you just installed vanilla Ubuntu or something, then you probably want to take a look at the top left corner of the screen for a little button called Activities, or at the bottom left of the screen for a button that I think is like 9 dots. Both of those buttons will allow you to search for programs on the system. What you should do is basically click one of those buttons and then start typing in the word terminal until you see a terminal pop up, and then you can click on it and then you can launch it. Okay, so for me though, I already have this set up on my desktop. So I'm going to click on my little terminal icon and I'm going to launch a terminal. For those of you who don't know what terminal I'm using right now, this is called Terminator. I think it's really cool. I'm personally a huge fan of this terminal. The main reason is that it's really easy and fast to split the panes. So you can do multiple sessions if you're connected to multiple remote machines at the same time. Later in your career, it's really convenient. It's actually kind of broken right now a little bit, but not too bad. I still love it. Okay, so I open up a terminal. Technically, this is called a terminal emulator. The real terminal would just be like a completely black screen, and you wouldn't be able to see anything else graphical. So this is sort of like a windowed program that runs another program under the hood that helps this program talk with the operating system, and it sort of performs two-way communication and shows you what the operating system is saying to you and doing and things like that. So, but for all intent and purpose, this is a terminal. I always call this a terminal. Okay, let's see. Maybe I need to increase the font size real fast. I go to Profiles. What if I do mono space? And I just do it like a little bit bigger than the default, so it's easier to watch on a video. Okay, how about that? Is that better? I think that's probably better. Okay, so for starters, you're looking at a command line interface. You're looking at a terminal. This is a terminal emulator program. We have like a blinking cursor. You can enter commands and stuff like that. It's important to understand at first that you're actually already inside of a program. Remember I said that the terminal emulator is a program. It's a graphical program, and it helps go between you and the operating system. There's also another program that sort of interprets the things that you're saying before sending that off to the operating system. The program is different depending on what environment you're using, but in Ubuntu, it usually defaults to bash. So I'm going to type a quick command. We'll explain what these commands do in a second. And I'm going to type echo shell, and that's going to tell me what interpreter we're using. So by default, we're using an interpreter called bash. So if you hear anybody say, hey, I'm in bash, or I got a bash script, well, this is what it is. It's a program that will be understood by bash. Okay, so what did I just type? I typed echo, and then I typed a $, and then I typed shell. So on the terminal, you can type any command you want. It may not actually work, but you can type. The way that your command is usually interpreted is if you type just one thing, then that's considered the program that you want to execute. So if I type the word echo by itself and hit enter, then bash, or I'll just say, the shell or the terminal, is going to look for a program named echo, and if it finds it, it'll execute it. There's a special way that it searches for programs, like the program echo, for example. it has to go somewhere in the operating system, right? There has to be a path. So if you type which echo, you can see exactly where it is on the operating system. So /user/bin/echo. So that's where it is. But I can just type echo by itself because the system knows how to go search through special system paths looking for the echo program that you typed, so it can find the real location. Anyway, so I type echo, and this program launches, and it doesn't really do anything. The thing about the echo program is if you just type something right after it and hit enter, then the echo program will actually receive what you typed after the echo program, executable name, and it'll just print it back to you. So what's happening here is the bash interpreter, the shell, it'll always take the first argument. We call these arguments, words or symbols separated by spaces. The first argument is echo. That's considered the program that you want to run. And every argument after that is actually just sent into the program that you launch. So the only thing that's actually launching here is the echo program. And then hello is a string that gets sent into the echo program. You can do as many arguments as you want. Actually, I don't know if there's like a huge limit. You can probably type a lot of these before you run out. And so I've typed 3 arguments. Technically, the echo program is argument 0, the first argument. But I've typed out 3 arguments that will get sent into the echo program. And you can see that echo received all 3 of them and just printed them out. And that's it. So the echo program is pretty simple. But if I type a $, and actually, let me just type shell by itself. If I say echo shell, it just prints the word shell because that's interpreted as just like a regular string. But if I put a $, in front of it, then bash considers that to be a variable. And so what it'll do is it'll go into memory wherever the variables are stored, and it'll try to find a variable named shell. And if there is one, it'll take the value that's inside of shell, which in this case is just, bash, and it'll convert the symbol $shell into the actual variable value, and then it'll print that, it'll send that into the echo command. So if I say echo shell, step 1, it looks for variable named shell. Step 2, it grabs bin bash and replaces that where the $shell was written, and then it sends that into the echo program. So now you know how to launch a program. Here's another program, it's called clear. If you just type the command clear, then a program called clear gets launched, and all it does is just help you clear the terminal if you want to keep things a little clean. Just to prove to you that this is a program, we can type which clear, and notice how it actually has a path in your operating system. User bin clear. This will be different if you're on a different operating system than mine, but it's all okay. All right, so where am I? Because you can see that I'm at some sort of a location. It says Mike at lectures. That sounds like the name of my computer and the name of my profile. But where am I in the file system? Because your computer is like, a big file system. There's lots of files and folders all over the place. Where is the terminal sitting? Is it sitting anywhere in the file system? It actually is. It's sitting in your home directory by default, unless you've made some customizations. I can access the current working directory by typing the command pwd, print working directory. And again, this is a program, and its whole job is just to print where the working directory currently is. So the working directory means where you're currently at, where you're situated, where you're looking at, and it's saying that I'm in my home folder. In Linux, the home folders are usually /home/your username. So if I want to see what's inside of my home folder, I can use another program called ls, which just lists the contents of a folder. So I'm going to type ls, and it tells me I've got all these folders, desktop, documents, downloads, and so forth. ls takes arguments. Remember, we have arguments like if we did echo hello, then it'll print the word hello, but we can give the ls command some arguments too. We can say, ls, I'd like you to do, some stuff. So what do we want it to do? Let's make it print all the files and folders, even those that might be hidden, because they, on Linux, if a file or folder starts with a period in the name, it'll usually be hidden by default. So if we want to print everything, we can say -a. And if I want to print in a vertical list style, I can put an L in front of there. So I can say ls, which is the program, and then -la is the arguments I give it, and that's going to tell it to print my directory vertically with all hidden files and folders shown. Notice how all this stuff showed up that wasn't there before, like bash history. I have a cache folder, but then there was also some stuff that was there before, like the documents folder. the music in the pictures folder and so forth. So you saw these things before. Like, let me just at least highlight one. So you saw the videos folder there before. You just didn't see all those other hidden ones because they had dots in front of their file name or folder name, depending on what they are. Okay, and then of course you can see that this is a vertical list, and you're getting a little bit better now at giving arguments to programs. So how did we know that ls takes -la as an argument or as some arguments? Well, you could search on the internet, which is pretty fast usually. You can also use a program called man. The man program will give you information on another program. Most programs have man entries, so when you install the program, there will be like a new manual page that shows up in the man program. So I'm going to type man ls and hit enter. I'm basically going to launch the man program, and I'm going to tell it that I want information on the ls program. So I hit enter. And then it sort of shows me like a big, little instruction thing, a little sheet, well, it's actually not little. Depending on the program, this could actually be huge. And notice how it tells you all the things that we can do with this program. So right here, you can see the -la part that we did earlier. Whoops, what did I do wrong? The -la part that we did earlier. That's the -a. And we could also instead have just said --all. That's what the manual is telling us. Where's that -l, the listing? Let's see, it's somewhere in here. HIJKL, maybe I should do a page down. Yeah, there we go. So, well, there's no --list. I was hoping that there would be a --list, but this tells you at least that you can say -l to use a listing format. And there's tons of other options that you can learn and read about if you just take some time to explore the man page. Kind of cool, right? Okay, so how do you get out of this? By the way, how do you search for stuff? I'm going to search by using the slash key. So like, the web slash key. I'm going to hit slash, and then I'm going to type something. I'm going to say maybe block, and then hit enter. And notice how it highlights on the first match. I can do a regular N to go down to the next match, or I can do Shift N, like a capital N, to go backwards up to the previous match. So this helps you, kind of search through man pages and things like that. And the cool thing about what the man page is using right now, it's using a way to display itself. I think it's either using a program called less, or it's using a program that works very similarly to a program called less. So the program less, it loads up a document for you, and it lets you do things like this: scroll up and down, search for things, go to a line number, and just, it's very convenient, right? It pages in the terminal. If you want to exit this, you just got to hit Q. So I hit Q right now, so I'm going to do man ls again, hit Q, and then I get out. So now we know a few commands. We know how to see where we're at in the file system and list directories and things like that. Let's go into the documents directory with a special command called cd. So cd stands for change directory, and if I just say documents and hit enter, now the shell itself is inside of a different folder. It was in my home folder before, now it's in my documents folder. If you're ever unsure of where you are, use the pwd command again to figure out what's going on. Okay, oh look, I am inside of my documents folder. If you ever find yourself in some sort of a deep subfolder, let's see, let's do like user lib libx32, whoops. What am I doing? There we go. What about this? LibreOffice. I'm just going into a random folder right now, just to show you that we can go pretty deep. So I think that I've reached the end of that. Okay, so suppose I'm navigating around and I'm in some kind of a folder, and I do pwd and it says, oh no, you're like way deep in some other folder. How do I get back to my home folder? Well, you could type out the whole home folder if you wanted to, but the easiest way to get back to your home folder is just type cd with no arguments. Once you hit enter, it'll drop back down to your home folder. And if you're not sure, then use the pwd command. Okay, so we're doing pretty well. We're kind of like navigating in here. Let's make a directory. I'm going to go into my documents folder again, and let's see. So right here, I've got like, whoops, I've got some documents. Let me make a directory called temp with the command make directory. So, well, MKDIR is the name of the program. The first argument I gave it was temp. And so it just created a folder for me called temp. So if I say cd temp, I can now go into the folder that I just created. If I list the contents of that directory again, it's empty because I just made it. pwd lets me know where I am just to make sure. When you're new to the terminal, I still use this all the time whenever I'm a little lost. I like to customize my terminal so it doesn't print the full path there. It just prints the current directory name, so I kind of get lost sometimes. So you just use the pwd command to figure out where you are. And by the way, just as a reminder, we could always do man and the name of a program. So I'm going to say man make dir, and there's options even for making a directory. I'm not going to go over those, but just to let you know, there's a lot to explore. Okay, so now I'm inside of the temp directory. I've made a folder. What if I want to go one level up? What if I don't exactly want to drop to the home directory, but maybe I went one level too deep and I want to go back up one level? Well, again, I could type out the whole thing. I could say go home, and I could say documents and whatever. But by the way, I'm hitting Control C when you see that --C. That usually tries to get the current program to stop. But when you're inside of Bash, it'll just sort of like abort the current command and go to another line. Okay, so how do I go up one level? Well, in Linux, there are two special directories that have periods in the name. They are periods. The directory known as period, actually, let me show you the full. Yeah, okay, well, the empty directory listing. Notice how it actually does show me two things. It doesn't show me nothing. It shows me these two directories right here. That's not a mistake. So this directory, the one with just one period, that always represents the current directory that you're in. So if I use just a period to go into a directory or to do something to a directory, that period will represent something different based on where I am. Am I in my home folder? Am I in the desktop? Am I somewhere else? The period changes based on where you are. The double period, the double dot, it always means, I'm getting used to this new pen setup. It always means, there we go. Oh, it looks like a emo guy with his hair like to the side. It always means the parent directory. So remember before, we could type cd and then some directory name, right, to go into a directory. Now we can type cd ... and that's basically saying we would like to change directories. We would like to go to the documents directory. Why? Because the documents directory is the parent directory of the temp directory. So if I say cd ... notice how it goes up one level. Let's do that again just to be sure. So I'm going to say pwd, and if I say cd ... and then pwd again, notice how we were in temp, and as soon as we went up one level, it went to documents. So it's just kind of a quick way. And just as you could, use a bunch of directory names separated by slashes, you can also put ... in any directory that you want. So like imagine I'm in the temp directory again. I could say, let's go up one directory, and then a slash, and then up another directory, and then a slash, and then up another directory, and I should end up in the home folder. Isn't that kind of funny, right? So I'm saying like, give me the parent directory of the current directory, and then give me its parent directory, and then give me its parent directory. So I went up 3 levels. So let me drop to my home folder and go back into documents and go back into temp. Whoops. I forgot to do cd. Now we're getting pretty good at navigating. Let me make another directory. I'll call it delete me, because I intend to delete this directory. There's a program called remove that lets you delete stuff. Actually, first, before we delete that, let's use a program called touch. And the program touch just sort of like creates a blank file. I think if the file already exists, it won't mess with the contents, but let's do an experiment in a moment. So I'm going to say touch blank file. It should create a file for me called blank file. So now I've got a directory and a file called blank file. Now I can remove the blank file with the rm command. So just rm and then give it the name of the file. Be careful with rm. You'll destroy your file system if you're not careful. And now let's remove the delete me folder. When you try to remove folders, you have to tell the remove command that you intend to delete a folder by specifying also the -r command, which means this is a folder, I would like you to recursively delete it. So let me just type it without that real fast. And it says, hey, I can't do it. It's a directory. So I'm going to say, all right, now how about just recursively, delete a folder for me? And it did it. Some other useful flags you might want in the future. The first one that I like is V for verbose, so it'll print everything that it deletes. And F for force. If you're absolutely sure that you know exactly what you're about to delete, then force will make it so that this program won't start asking you, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure? So it's kind of dangerous, but it's also pretty convenient. Imagine that. Anyway, so let's see, what else when I talk about here? We know how to touch to create a blank file and create a folder and navigate all around. Let's edit a file. Let's actually edit a file in the terminal. So there's kind of like an age-old argument between the Vim people or the V people and the Nano people. And so I just want to say that if you were a Vim person, don't ever talk to me again for the rest of your life. Just kidding. You're okay. We can sort of be friends, but I'm personally a Nano person. So what am I talking about? Nano is just another program. It may or may not be on your system. I think on Ubuntu it should be there by default. Let me just double check. Yeah, it should be there by default. We'll talk about how to install programs in a second. I'll go sudo apt install just to remind myself. But so you type Nano to execute the Nano program, and then you type the name of a file that you want to edit. So let's edit a file called, my program, program.cpp, just, if you're writing some code. And this tells the Nano program that you would like to edit this file, named myprogram.cpp. You hit enter, and you have like a nice little editor that shows up. Notice at the bottom, you have a bunch of little shortcuts, right? So if you do, actually, let's look at this one over here first. If you hit Control O, that means save the file, write it out. If you hit Control X, that means you'd like to exit the editor. So if I want to get rid of the editor and just go back to the terminal, the normal command line, I'll do Control X. There's a bunch of other stuff you can do, and there's like a big help menu. I recently remembered that you can do Alt N to see line numbers in Nano, so that makes it a lot more convenient for coding. So I'm going to do Alt N to get those lines off. Let me just type the word hello real fast. Hello. Okay, so now I want to save this. Let's do, we can do Control O to just save it, but we'll stay inside of the editor, or we can do Control X to save it and then exit the editor. So I think I'm going to exit it. I'm going to say Control X. Notice how at the bottom it asks me, do I want to save the modified buffer? That just means I've been editing inside of this temporary area. Do I want to actually save it? So I'm going to hit Y for yes. Then it asks me, what's the name of the file that you want to save? Well, since I specified my program when I launched Nano, it already knows what I want to do. If you didn't specify the name of a file, then you could provide it here. So I'm just going to hit enter. And now the program exits. If I list the contents of the directory, I can see that I now have the world's worst C++ program ever, because it's just, hello, that's not going to compile. So how do I see the contents of a file with the terminal? Well, for starters, obviously you could just type the name of the program again for Nano and it'll show you. There it is. I'm going to hit Control X to exit out of it. But there's another popular command that people like to use called cat. Cat basically will go to a file, load it into memory, and spill it onto the terminal for you. Really what it does is it prints to something called standard output, and then the shell interpreter grabs standard output and it renders it to the terminal. But we'll just say that this prints it to the terminal. So if I say cat and the name of my program, then it prints it to the terminal. So you can check any program this way. Do yourself a favor, well, do me a favor, and do cat at the following path, etc. os release. The etc. directory off of the root of the file system in Linux is usually where all of the configuration files get stored, at least the ones that are system-wide. So like system-wide programs, their configurations are usually in the etc. folder. So there's a special file in many operating systems, definitely Ubuntu, called os release, which just describes the operating system to you. So here, if you're not sure what operating system you're using, or if you just want to have fun and kind of see information on it, well, you can say cat etc. os release and see your OS. So there it is, all this stuff. Pretty fun. Okay, so we did my program. Let's edit my program real fast. So I'm going to go myprogram.cpp. And if I want to just say, I don't know, maybe I want to make this look a little bit more like a program. So I can say integer main, and we'll just pretend that we're not going to do any arguments. Return 0. So this probably would compile. I think this would compile. If not, then you might have to go int the number of arguments, and then don't worry about this. This is not a programming video. Character pointer. I can never remember if the brackets go before or after the variable name. So I usually, when I start a new program, I usually compile it both ways and see which one works. Okay, so I did it too fast. Okay, so I edited, and if I want to just save my changes, I'm going to say Control O. Notice how it asked me again at the bottom. Do you want to save it under the same name? I just say Enter to say yes. If I wanted to instead just exit the program, I do Control X and then yes, save the buffer, Enter. If you find yourself inside a weird area where you can't really hit keys and you can't exit very well, you might be inside of Vim. Some operating systems use Vim as the default, or some programs. So I'm going to just enter Vim manually. Whoops, what am I doing? Is it Vim or V? So I'm not a Vim user. Okay, there we go. So Vim is like, it's very complicated. Some people say it's lightning fast and it's so useful, but personally I think by the time you need so many features, you might as well just mount the remote file system and use an actual graphical editor. I'm just not a fan. Don't hate me. We can still be friends. So if you're inside of Vim, you hit the insert key and then you can kind of like type and stuff like that. So it's whatever. But what? Insert. Okay. I'm getting lost already inside of Vim. I'm just going to delete this stuff that I created. And so if you want to exit from Vim, hit the escape key first to make sure you're not inside of insert mode or any special mode. And then say Shift : to enter command mode. You'll know you're in command mode because you see this little colon here next to your prompt, or next to a prompt. And then I'm going to say right quit. Right quit means save the file and then quit. If you want to quit without saving the file, you can just put Q, but Vim will complain if you've actually changed something and you're refusing to save the changes. So if you are absolutely sure you want to discard the changes, just say, yes, I want to quit with an exclamation point. So Q, exclamation, hit enter. Now you're out of Vim. Hopefully you'll never go back for the rest of your life. Sorry, okay. So now we know, a lot of stuff that we can do in the terminal. Maybe we should learn how to install programs real fast or search for programs. And then we'll do a little bit of some graphical stuff. All right, so here's the command that I wanted to remind myself of. So how do we search for programs? If you didn't know this already, almost every single Linux distribution has a repository of pre-compiled programs that are open source that you can use for free. I personally think this is a lot better and a lot safer than the old Windows method of just sort of like going to random websites online and downloading programs and just kind of crossing your fingers that you didn't just download a virus. What happens is the people who run the operating system, they'll take the source code for popular programs and packages, they'll compile it for you, they'll store the binaries, which are just the compiled executable files, and then you can use certain command line tools to install those programs one by one. There's so many available that it wouldn't make sense to install them all by default because you'll probably never use the vast majority. But so we have a nice package manager in Ubuntu called apt. It's the apt package manager. If you want to see more information about it, let's see, is it called aptitude or just apt? We can say man apt. Yeah, it's just a command line interface. This actually, I think this talks to dpackage under the hood, but it's just a package manager. One of the subcommands for apt is search. So we can say launch the apt program with apt. Then we could say apt, I would like you to search. And what would you like apt to search for? I don't know. How about a program called Mousepad? It's one of my favorite text editors on Linux. So what it does is it searches the Ubuntu repositories and it tries to find, a package or a program that matches. And if it does, it'll show you the listing. Okay, so what do I have here? Mousepad is already installed on this system. Yeah, that makes sense because I think I was just using it. and some other stuff that you could find. So you can just kind of search for anything. Like, do you want a free accounting program that you don't have to pay for? It's not necessarily going to be the best, but it's free and it works and it's good and a lot of people swear by it. Well, you can search for apt search new cache. And there it is. I don't have it installed on this machine, but new cache, free accounting software. Do you want to learn to make memes against your enemies? Well, there's a program for that called GIMP. It's kind of like, at this point, I think, an old school Photoshop clone. Not clone, but alternative. It's really good for memes, and there are actually a lot of very talented people who use GIMP to do like very artistic things. So there it is right there, GIMP. And it's GIMP because it's the GNU image manipulation program. There's also another one that's a little bit more artistic, I think. I haven't used it. I think I used it once. It's called Krita. Oops, sorry, not apt Krita, apt search Krita. And there it is. So there's like a bunch of different choices for any idea that you could have. Like, just, think of what you want. You want like another browser, another image editor. You want accounting software. You want an audio. Let's see, I think there's one called Ardour. Let me see, apt search. You want to like mix music at home. So I want to type the name of the program, Ardour, but I want to see if I can find it by just searching for a music term. Let's say DAW, Digital Audio Workstation. Let me scroll up a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I searched for DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, and this program that came up right here, it's like a very, very, very popular, free and open source digital audio workstation with like so many tracks that you can mix and effects, and you can record with it and do all these crazy things. So I'm just trying to show you that Linux is not just for, coding and boring stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff on Linux that you can access for free through these repositories. Okay, so let's actually install something. Suppose I'm ready to make memes against my enemies. So I'm going to say sudo apt install instead of search, install, and I'm just going to type the name of the program, GIMP. Oh wait, hang on. I'm not supposed to show you sudo just yet. So let's do sudo. Let's do apt install GIMP. By the way, sudo is supposedly outdated, and people are saying you should use something else, but I don't know. Old habits die hard. So if I say apt install GIMP, the system is telling me that I don't have permission to install a program on this machine, and that makes sense. That's probably a good thing, right? You don't want to just let any user totally, redo your system. So it's saying, could not open the log file, permission denied. Oh no. Unable to acquire the dpackage front-end lock. Are you root? Oh, okay. So what this is basically saying is that in order for us to do root level activities like install a program on the system, we need to elevate the command line to root. And how we do that is we pretty much just say sudo, which is the name of a program that helps us quickly elevate. It also actually does like a lot of other stuff, but for now we're just going to use it to elevate the command up to root. So if I say sudo apt install GIMP, what's happening is the sudo program gets invoked, then it receives apt install GIMP, and then it just executes apt install GIMP as root. Let me just prove to you that sudo will elevate a command. So if I go who am I, it'll tell you the name of the current user. If I say sudo who am I, then sudo will launch who am I as the root user, and then who am I should tell us, oops, got to enter the sudo password. You actually have to be an admin to use sudo, just FYI. So if I say sudo who am I, notice how it prints root. So if I say sudo apt install GIMP, it's really just going to invoke apt install GIMP as the root user, and it should allow me to install that program. GIMP is already installed. Okay, I guess I was making memes earlier and I forgot about it. Well, we could remove it. We could say sudo apt remove GIMP. Then it removes it. Yes. I don't think I was making memes on this machine. I think something funny's going on here. And now that it's removed, I could install it again if I wanted to. I could say sudo apt install GIMP, and then it might ask you to push yes and enter, and then it just kind of finishes. Also, if when you're trying to install things, you get a message that says, Repository could not be updated. It's like a 404 error, cannot be connected to, not found. Your repo's out of date, you know, whatever. That might just mean you need to update your system. So I'm going to say sudo apt update, telling apt that I would like to update its idea of all the packages, and then sudo apt upgrade. So update just contacts the server and gets an idea of what packages there are and their versions. And then sudo apt upgrade actually updates the system, or it actually upgrades the system. When you're done with that, you usually want to do auto remove to just kind of get rid of any junk that's left over if you happen to remove things recently. This stuff up here, this is sort of like a corporate upsell. You can probably ignore that, at least for now. But yeah, so we know how to like do lots of stuff in the terminal. Just to point this out, I'm going to open up the, let's see, we're inside of the temp folder. Okay, so I have the temp folder inside the terminal. I'm going to open up my file system here, and I'm going to go into the same path. So we were inside of, let me just show you again with PWD, we were inside of home mic documents temp. So let me go inside of the home folder. It's not downloads, documents temp, and notice how I have the same file here, my program and my program. I can right click on this or even double click on it, and I can open it up with mousepad or even this nifty little code editor called Genie. If you're interested in Genie, it's actually pretty nice. Sudo apt install Genie, and it'll tell me that this program's already installed. I like to use it because, you know, VS Code and other IDEs, they're great for productivity, but they kind of help you a lot. And if you're trying to learn, you know, coding or whatever, sometimes it's a little bit better if you just use something kind of plain, because then you'll learn more. It's harder. You know, that's up to you. Anyway, so I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to say, let's open this up with, how about mousepad, I guess. Now I am graphically editing this file, because maybe you want to, you know, edit everything in Nano, maybe you don't. Maybe you only want to use the terminal when you have to. But, well, here you are. Let me do a cat command. I'm going to say my program cat. Notice how it's the same exact file. I can, I don't know, maybe put some empty comments up above the function name for fun and save the document, and then just kind of do the cat command again. And you can see that my changes have been updated. So you can delete in the regular file system here. In XFCE, the file system is called Thunar, and there should be a symbol somewhere, or if you just kind of hit the start menu, let's see, how about Office? Where is Thunar usually? Oh, it's in accessories, okay. And then if you're on GNOME, it's probably just called Files, or I forget what the name of the file system is, but you know, something that just looks like a folder. So we've edited that. We've got all the basics here. We know how to navigate. We know how to get to our home folder. We're like making directories, deleting directories, removing files, touching files, editing files. We're doing a lot. And just to let you know, there's like so much more you can do on the terminal. For instance, you can, let's see, do we have GCC on this computer? No, GCC is what people use to code in C++, right? So I'm going to say sudo apt install GCC. Another thing you can do is install a package on Ubuntu called build essential. I think it's singular, not plural. And this is sort of like a meta package, which means it's like a dummy package that installs a bunch of other packages. So build essential, it'll grab all these other programs for you for like, it looks like a bunch of C++ stuff, and there should be like GNU Make in there and some Perl stuff, I guess. Yeah, I've never actually looked at this. That's not a lot of stuff that I use. There's just a few things that I use in there. But anyway, you install that and then you'll get GCC, which will help you code in C++. You can also do sudo apt install yasm to install your assembler. What else? So GCC and G++ and yasm and make and an editor. I think that's kind of like almost all you need. Well, you can install a debugger, sudo apt install GDB to install your GNU debugger, which is already installed. Okay. Anyway, well, just to let you know, we can do GCC to compile some programs. It'll complain we don't have anything. Let's see, actually, let me go in there. Let me go to documents temp. Let's see if it'll compile this just as is. GCC my program, output, and I'll just say that we want a program called main. Is this gonna work? Did it actually work? Oh my gosh, I got it right on the first try, even though it was an empty program. Doesn't really do anything. Oh, by the way, in Linux or in the command line, you probably will see a lot of people do this sort of thing where it's like dot slash and the name of a program. The thing is, in order to execute a program, I'll tell you about permissions in a second. First, it needs permission to execute, but then you need to provide a path to the program. You can't just type main as is because the system, the shell is going to think that you're talking about a system program somewhere. So it's going to look in all the system areas and it doesn't find a program named main. So you have to give it a path to your custom programs to run. So I'm going to say dot/main. And basically, remember the dot was a special directory that meant the current directory. So if I type .main, it's actually kind of the same thing as typing home, mic, documents, temp, main. So if I just type this whole path right here, it runs the program. Or I can do, dot/main. It also runs the program. In both cases, it works. Let me edit this real fast to see if I can just get something exciting going on here. File stream, and then I'm just going to go. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Let me try to compile again. GCC my program, output to executable called main. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, GCC is for just regular C programs. You're not supposed to do that. I'm going to use G++, and then I'm going to say standard library. I don't know, C++21 or something. STD. Oh, what did I do wrong? STD equals C++. Is 21 not a valid year? I don't even remember. I've been using C++ 17 forever. What did I do wrong? STD equals C++. Okay, 17 I know definitely works. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, so 17, I guess 19 wasn't a thing. Been using 17 for a long time. Okay, so I just compiled the program again with C++ 17. Well, then what the heck was I doing yesterday? Was I using 23? Hang on, sorry. Okay, I forgot what standard I was on yesterday. Okay. So then if we run the program again, it prints a message. So maybe I should retitle this video "Your First C++ Program" because that's literally what we just did. I'll make another video. Anyway, so I think we've probably covered the basics of the Linux command line. And well, you're off. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned a little bit of stuff. Keep watching all the other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey everybody. Thanks for watching this video again. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it. I do hope you did learn something and have some fun. If you could do me a small little favor, could you please subscribe and follow this channel or these videos or whatever it is you do on the current social media website that you're looking at right now. It would really mean the world to me, and it'll help make more videos and grow this community. So we'll be able to do more videos, longer videos, better videos, or just I'll be able to keep making videos in general. So please do me a kindness and subscribe. Sometimes I'm sleeping in the middle of the night and I just wake up because I know somebody subscribed or followed. It just wakes me up and I get filled with joy. That's exactly what happens every single time. So you could do it as a nice favor to me, or you could troll me if you want to just wake me up in the middle of the night. Just subscribe, and then I'll just wake up. I promise that's what will happen. Also, if you look at the middle of the screen right now, you should see a QR code which you can scan in order to go to the website, which I think is also named somewhere at the bottom of this video. And it'll take you to my main website where you can just kind of see all the videos I published and the services and tutorials and things that I offer and all that good stuff. And if you have a suggestion for clarifications or errata or just future videos that you want to see, please leave a comment. Or if you just want to say, hey, what's up? What's going on? Just send me a comment. Whatever. I also wake up for those in the middle of the night. I wake up in a cold sweat and I'm like, it would really mean the world to me. I would really appreciate it. So again, thank you so much for watching this video. and enjoy the cool music as I fade into the darkness, which is coming for us all.